Hi, I'm Antoinette Naomi, an anthropologist and behavioral scientist, and today I'm giving you guys a little bit of a snippet of Neville Goddard about the law of assumption. And the reason why I felt like this would be a great video for today is because there is this culture, this movement across YouTube and across multiple platforms that talks about the law of assumption. One might say that it's something that is impacting so many individuals' lives.
Since the day you were born, you have been taught to worship 5 false gods. You have been trained to be a faithful servant to 5 great tyrants. Your eyes, your ears, your sense of touch, taste, and smell, these 5 senses have dictated the boundaries of your world. They present you with a ceaseless parade of so-called facts, and you have been taught to bow before them as the ultimate reality. They show you an empty bank account and you call it truth. They present you with a doctor's diagnosis and you call it fact. They echo the sound of a door slammed shut and you call it the end. This world, the world of Caesar, built upon the evidence of your senses, feels solid, unchangeable, absolute. And as long as you grant it that power, you will forever remain its subject, a creature of circumstance, reacting to a reality that is imposed upon you. But tonight, you will learn not just why you must ignore your current reality, but how to do it. You will learn the art of turning your back on the facts of Caesar to give your full, undivided allegiance to the truth of your desire. So if your senses are not the source of truth, then what is? The answer is the very power you have been using every moment of your life, though perhaps unconsciously. It is your own wonderful human imagination. This is the deeper truth. Your imagination is not a fantasy. It is the one and only creative reality. The world that you perceive with your 5 senses, the world of so-called hard facts, is nothing more than a mirror. It is a world of shadows, reflecting that which you hold to be true within your own consciousness. It does not create. It only reveals what has already been created within you. This is why ignoring the reality of your senses is not an act of delusion. It is an act of profound wisdom. It is refusing to be hypnotized by a reflection in the mirror. It is turning away from the shadow to deal directly with the light that casts it. The great secret to living in the end, therefore, is to cultivate a serene and unwavering assumption. It is the quiet, unshakable conviction that your desire is already an established, accomplished fact within the only world that matters, the world of your imagination. Not that it will be, but that it is now. And the feeling that accompanies this assumption is not a loud, forced emotion. It is the natural, subtle mood that would be yours if your desire were already a simple fact of your life. Ask yourself, if I already were the person I want to be, how would I feel right now? Not ecstatic, perhaps, but a quiet satisfaction, a sense of normalcy, a peaceful knowing. This is the state you must learn to occupy. It is a fundamental shift of identity. You cease to be the person who is seeking, and you become, in your inner world, the person who is. For if you can successfully assume this new state of being, the mirror of the world has no choice but to reflect your new face.
And the reason why I felt like it was important to talk about it is because if this is a scientific fact, so as a social scientist, I say, if this law of assumption is real, then every human being that has a cognitive brain, that has the capacity to feel the sentient part of themselves, that has a capacity to have logic and reason, should, in quotes, be able to apply this principle. But Neville Goddard, he was born in 1905 and died in 1972. However, because of AI, he has experienced a revival. If you type in Neville Goddard, you can just listen to his lectures. However, I've recently noticed there are some that's using AI, replicating his voice, and you can still, those that actually know his voice, know they're using artificial intelligence to generate that voice. So it's not his voice. But those that know Neville Goddard and his teachings can identify his voice immediately. But the part of it that actually mattered to me, and the reason why I felt like it's important to put this video out, is because if there's a science behind it, then everybody should be able to apply it. And if the law of assumption is real, then everybody should be able to have access to that piece of information to be able to apply it to their lives in a way that actually impacts for the life for the better. You know, I'm doing some experiments in my own private life in many different categories of my life. And part of me, at times, I felt, you know, this doesn't work. This isn't real. And then I thought, well, maybe I'm not doing it quote unquote correctly. And if there is something inside of me that's objecting, because like this girl here,
entire point will always be to assume what you want is true, and the unwanted story or old story is not the case. It's no longer the case.
She was speaking and she says, go fight your demons elsewhere. She showed, documented, she gave a testimony in her life about how using the law of assumption, but also with these affirmations, like robotic affirmations, but with really convincing herself that it is here, how she created $33,000 and how this person here.
I'm going to put $10,000, but it can't just be cash or a check. So I dimensionalize a wire transfer from my client on my phone. And in the meditations, you know, I felt the phone, I felt the glass, and then even going down to the wire transfer, I could feel the raised letters. You know, you get a connection with this. So we do our meditation, and we go into our object, and there's my $10,000, and I have a connection with it, and I'm radiating out, and I'm like, I'm going to get that $10,000. Something really strange happened, and the 10 turned, there was an extra zero, so it turned into $100,000. And I said, no, go back. And it was a tug of war. It went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then in that first meditation I won. So later that night, we were with our friends in the pool talking about our objects and our experience. And they're like, well, why are you arguing with it? And I'm like, $10,000 is enough. They said, you're crazy. Take the $100,000. On Sunday, we do our object again, and I'm going to let go. I'm going to surrender. And so I have the object, I have my $100,000, and it was, you know, when that moment clicks, when you know something's going to happen. What? We don't know. Still, I'm going to be happy with $10,000. So I actually had to leave right after the meditation to fly to San Diego for a meeting, and on the flight there, I thought, I'm going to continue. You guys are meditating, so I'm going to meditate.
Now listen to this. You know what he did? He said, well, it hasn't materialized yet. I'm just going to collapse more waves into particles. I'm going to put more of my intentional thought and energy directed towards it, and I'm going to feel my connection to it and observe it again so that it begins to form more density and more particles collapse.
And you guys, I have to say something. It really is that simple. It is that simple. If you just let go and go to that place, things happen. So I do the meditation. I get to San Diego in the morning. Every morning, my husband and I, we meditate 1 hour every day, no matter what. I got up in the morning. I did my meditation. Right after my meditation, I got a text from my client. Hey, are you free to have breakfast? And I said, oh, yeah, sure. So I go down and I have breakfast. And he said to me, I need your bank account number. And I said, why? He said, because I have a surprise for you. And I was like, yes. My $10,000. And I was like, okay, yeah. He said, you know, he sold his company. I had a chance to become an employee, and I turned it down. And he said, you know, you've always been there for us. You've helped us out, so I have a surprise for you. And I was like, mm-hmm. So this is what popped into my bank account. It was $500,000.
He was using something different than the law of assumption. He was using quantum physics, or what Joe Dispenza's teachings are, going into the quantum field and actually bringing it, like going to the place where it's already done and actually creating a new reality where it's already done. But he was proudly saying it's easy. And I challenge him on that. I would say, okay, it's easy if there are some parts of the self that are no longer in contradiction to that desire being met. There's also fear. But when Neville Goddard speaks in this one lecture, he speaks in a way that says that you have to let go of letting the senses be your God. And he has also said, take care of the need to no longer be that person that has experienced what you no longer want to experience. And he's saying there is a system, there's a how-to, this is the how-to. And the method that says, use this method and then just apply it to your life. Use it as a science project, apply it to your life. If you are watching this video and you are interested in applying it to your life and you practice these principles, write your testimony in the comment section. Tell me what you've done and how you've used the law of assumption. But if this is scientific, then meaning if this can be replicated in the laboratory, like meaning you're applying these methods and you can replicate it instead touting it as, oh, it's real, oh, it's true, oh, it's easy. Instead saying there are factors in everyone's life that make it easy or difficult. But if this is scientific, then it can be proven. Also have these words, when it comes down to it, if the law of assumption is real, then you should see evidence in your life. When I graduated from high school and on my way to uni, my grandmother gave me this book. It was called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And she gave it to me and she gave it to my then boyfriend at the time. And we started using the principles in that book. But, I have over the course of since then, I have used the principles in that book, which really is dealing with the subconscious mind. But Neville Goddard says, you are dealing with the subconscious mind. You're assuming you're dealing with a part of the self, like you're dealing with that internal part of the self that has assumed it's real, that's living in it. Like it's happening like right now, like you're bringing that 3D part or you're bringing that lived experience into the internal part of your body. And if it's real, and if that is a true testament to the way it works, then there should be evidence of that. And so I would love to hear comments about what you've done in your life using the law of assumption. There also has to be a way to apply these teachings to one's life without impacting them in a harmful way, just using it as a social experiment. Experiment it with your own life. That's what I'm doing, and we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time. The goal is for me to bring content and more content, and also have a relationship with this community as it's growing. And so wherever you are in the world, I wish you so much joy, so much peace, and so much happiness. And until the next time, be good to yourself and be good to one another.